Across the years, we've had a number of live-action Jokers, and with there being many Jokers, there comes the obvious debate. Who's your favorite Joker and why? We've done it for characters like Superman and Batman, but to do something a little different than my typical content, I figured it'd be fun to finally put my hat in the ring and rank most of the live-action or theatrical Jokers. Just to remind you, this video is meant to be fun and lighthearted. I understand that we all have our various opinions, but let's dive right into my list. To no one's surprise, last place goes to Jared Leto's Joker. This is clearly the farthest from a hot take on my list and probably a unanimous opinion, but Jared Leto's Joker is simply not good. And honestly, DC allowing the Joker to have a different take that strays away from the greatest iteration of the Joker that we've seen in live action wasn't even necessarily a bad idea. There is always room to try and reinvent a character. Why do you think we have so many comic book runs of nearly every superhero? Change is sometimes good. However, this take on the Joker just feels awkward. For example, I don't like almost any chemistry Jared Leto's Joker had with Harley Quinn during Suicide Squad, but I somehow like the dialogue he shared or small chemistry he had with Batman and the very minimal dialogue we've seen in the Snyder Cut. In Suicide Squad, Joker's a side character, and he shouldn't be. He's one of the greatest comic book villains ever invented. The characterization alone is awkward, such as the scene in the club where he covers his mouth to use his tattoos to showcase his emotions. I also didn't like the scene where he's laying around a bunch of knives in the shape of an angel while laughing. It literally just feels both dumb and like a waste of time in Suicide Squad. This iteration also doesn't play to any of the Joker's strengths, such as actually being an insane yet intelligent villain, having actual comedic jokes that make you laugh, and consistently maintaining the viewer's focus when he's on the screen. Anytime this Joker is on the screen in Suicide Squad, I almost instantly wish that he wasn't, when that's not the case for the other iterations of the Jokers on this list. In the Snyder Cut, there's only one scene that the Joker is in, but that single scene alone, where he's talking to Batman during the Nightmare teaser, is better than anything in Suicide Squad. I've mentioned this in my Snyder Cut video, but that was arguably the most interesting part of the entire thing. That was the first time since we've seen Jared Leto's Joker where I legitimately had the thought of, okay, maybe we should actually see where this goes. Maybe this could lead to something that's at least likable, but unfortunately, we probably won't ever be able to see the end result of that storyline. It sucks, but the first time we've ever seen a small glimpse of hope out of Jared Leto's Joker is possibly the last time we've ever seen Jared Leto's Joker. I also refuse to ignore that Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn becomes a better character after her relationship with this Joker is over in Birds of Prey, which says a lot considering Harley's whole character is typically centered around the Joker. Two other factors also don't help this iteration of the Joker. Firstly, we've never seen a full-fledged take on this Joker, such as in a film where he kills Robin, which is a movie Zack Snyder wanted to do and hinted at in Batman v Superman, but didn't get the green light to do so. Ultimately, compared to the rest of the Jokers on this list, it didn't necessarily have a chance to have a higher place on this list. For 5th place, someone had to put respect on this movie's name, the Lego Batman movie, which not only had a shockingly good Joker played by Zach Galifianakis, but was a great movie as well. Obviously, there's a reason why this is second to last place, but it still deserves the credit that's due because of how good the movie is. In fact, it was pleasant that this movie went in a different direction with the Batman and Joker chemistry. I mentioned this in my video about Lego Batman, which you should watch. I adored the movie, but the idea of this movie playing against Batman's obvious weaknesses and forcing him to confront them was so refreshing. There were so many jokes and references to the many versions of the past Batmans throughout the movie that it felt like the Lego Batman movie was made for Batman fans. On top of this movie's Joker is not only funny, but he's way more entertaining than I thought he'd be, and that's because he isn't necessarily the focus of this movie. In fact, he's not even the focus when Joker shares scenes with Batman. They bounce off of each other with funny, lighthearted dialogue and great one-liners. What shines is their chemistry. It's not just Batman, it's not just Joker, it's the way they actually interact with each other over the course of this film. The idea of Joker wanting Batman to simply admit that they need each other because they give each other purpose, and Batman not admitting that, leading to him going to jail willingly, is hilarious. Joker just sits in jail with the rest of the many DC villains that are in this movie. There are so many villains that are given a nod in this movie that are not important characters. Like, you sure you're not making some of those names up? Plus, this Joker isn't necessarily a grandmaster or overly intelligent villain, and it makes sense for this Joker because he's so funny and lighthearted. This Joker being a grandmaster or super intelligent would actually take away the spotlight from Batman and go against the entirety of this film. This movie is meant to maintain the spotlight on Batman while maintaining its level of entertainment while poking at Batman through the many jokes in the film. Also, it was actually hilarious watching Joker team up with other major pop culture characters that appear towards the end of the film, such as King Kong, Voldemort, Godzilla, Sauron, and many other characters. Anyway, this Joker and this movie is underappreciated, but compared to the rest of these Jokers, it deserves to remain with this placement on my list. However, I highly recommend watching the Lego Batman movie. It's on HBO Max, and if you want to know more about the movie, feel free to watch my video. On to the next Joker. In fourth place, we have Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. This take on the Joker character is fantastic. From the start of the movie to the end of the movie, Joaquin Phoenix's ability to sell the audience on this physically and mentally broken man shouldn't go understated. The way he brought character into this iteration of Joker, even if it wasn't a carbon copy of other takes on the Joker, ultimately led to him making one of the most interesting versions. The idea of Arthur Fleck, a mentally and physically ill man, spiraling into madness because of the fact that society has let Arthur down in almost every aspect possible, makes absolute sense. Joker literally sells you on the idea of wanting to care for Arthur in the beginning of the film. We literally watch him get jumped. We see his horrible home life as he takes care of his mother. He even gets judged by both people in his job and on the bus or train because he's awkward and has a unique laughing condition. Arthur's boss literally disregards Arthur's story when he asks Arthur what happened with the sign. It's hard to watch that scene because we clearly see that's the beginning of Arthur's rage that brews over the course of the movie. All of these things make you want to yell at someone and try to be the person who legitimately tries to get Arthur some help, but you can't. You can't save Arthur. You can't prevent the spiral that comes from his inner rage. And you can't prevent Arthur from ultimately killing Murray. Joker is a powerful movie, and outside of the characterization of Arthur, there's other reasons why this movie succeeds at what it's trying to do. Gotham is more than just a playground full of thugs for Batman to jump like we've seen in other movies, shows, and video games. Gotham has always had a personality because of the villains and other characters that exist in the Batman universe. But this Gotham's personality is one thing: every person for themselves. Everyone's trying to get by on their own, so they clearly don't care about anyone else, such as a person like Arthur. Even Arthur's therapist didn't do her best when their funding got cut in the middle of the film. Her actions make you ask frustrating questions such as, why didn't Arthur's therapist help him find another therapist when they found out that their budget was getting cut so he can continue to get help? On top of this film was outside of the DCEU, so there was no worry about it connecting to anything or retconning other bad creative decisions from previous films. It was allowed to be exactly what it wanted to be without any real expectations, and this allowed people to go into this film without expecting disappointment or at least having that thought in the back of their minds. With all of that being said, these creative choices ultimately led to DC creating one of my favorite iterations of the Joker ever, and I'd absolutely love to see other DC villains have a gritty and grounded take in this same style as well. The only reason that Joaquin's Joker is in fourth place for me is due to the fact that this Joker isn't like the other classic portrayals of the Joker, and due to that, I don't know how often I could truly sit down and watch Joker. It's one of those movies where you have to be in a very specific mood to watch, thus knocking it down a small peg, and I say this as someone who absolutely loves this film. Just like the Lego Batman movie though, if you want to find out more about why I love Joker, you should watch my video. In third place, finally, we have Jack Nicholson's classic Joker from Batman 1989. Honestly, before this video, I've never actually sat down to watch this movie, so watching this Batman film was almost like homework for me. Plus, it'd feel weird to leave out this movie considering how iconic it is. Jack Nicholson's Joker is hilarious, obnoxious, entertaining, and just straight up crazy. There's a lot to like about this Joker, and it's because of the fact that he's so weird that you almost can't stop looking at him while he's on the screen. He has weird jokes, some of which haven't aged well, obviously. His origin story is great, and I even liked his character development before he turned into the Joker as well. He legitimately had this mob boss, crime lord type of vibe as Jack Napier, and I would have loved to see more of it, even though I know it would have slowed down the movie. If we're being real though, his Joker's the only positive thing about Batman 1989. Without his Joker, this movie would be fairly insufferable considering Michael Keaton isn't as entertaining in this film as he is in other Batman films. However, despite how much I love the chaotic energy of this Joker, it's hard to not hate all of the awkward moments he has in this movie. From blasting music and doing a full parade in Gotham for several minutes during the movie, to blasting music and painting in a museum for several minutes as well, it's portions like those which ruin both the movie and this iteration of the Joker. Literally every bit of his Joker is outstanding except those weird moments, and they just feel so out of place when you watch it in a year like 2021. It was hard to not roll my eyes during those segments because all I kept thinking was, oh my god, this is such a 90s thing to do, this is rough. But at the same time, I couldn't take my eyes off of those scenes because of how bad they were. It was like watching a live train wreck every single time those moments happened. I literally couldn't stop looking even if I hated it. I also didn't like any scenes that had to do with Joker's random obsession with Vicky Vale throughout the Batman movie. It just felt forced and unneeded. Sure, I understand needing a love interest in the movie for the hero to save because it was a major cliche from back in the day, but it didn't do much for me besides make me feel super awkward watching those awful scenes. Plus, when you think about it, Bruce Wayne could literally get any woman he wants because in the comic book universe, that's a literal cliche that comes with him being a billionaire. Another thing I didn't like was his Joker also being the man who killed Bruce's parents, which is revealed later on in the movie. I know spoilers, but this came out like 32 years ago, and I'm pretty sure that's because we have so many different takes on the Joker now that comparing this movie to modern takes of Joker, we're so used to not specifically knowing who killed Bruce's parents. It's just a regular thing in the storyline that doesn't ever really need to be explored. So with this Joker, seeing him be the person who created Batman just felt a little too campy for my liking. Once again, I fully understand that this is a byproduct of having today's knowledge and being able to see various Jokers without that connection to Bruce. Regardless, I did enjoy pretty much everything else when it comes to Jack Nicholson's Joker, and I admire the fact that he literally tried to kill most of Gotham during a parade. His take actually feels like a wacky comic book character, and I can respect that for the most part. However, with the flaws I previously mentioned, it's hard to put him at my personal number 2 or number 1 spot. There's a reason why I have a whole section in my Gotham video about this iteration of the Joker, but for second place, we have Cameron Monaghan's Joker. For reference, Gotham couldn't name this character Joker, but it's the Joker character, and in an interview, Cameron Monaghan has even said he was called for a Joker origin role. Regardless, this Joker deserves so much credit because it is so underrated. I absolutely love the fact that Cameron did exactly what he aimed to do right by not only the fans, but also managed to honor the previous Jokers as well. Despite being a show without a Batman, there's also a lot of things that Gotham succeeds at doing, but at the top of that list is this Joker. He's comedic, he has your constant attention, his insanity is buyable, and even the way that he talks or acts around Bruce Wayne is phenomenal. There doesn't necessarily feel like there's anything entirely wrong when it comes to Cameron's Joker because of the fact that he studied so much for this role. He cared so much about it that he worked on doing different versions of his voice for story reasons, and even tried to ensure that there were different versions of the laugh because of Mark Hamill saying that the Joker should have different laughs. Whether it's crueler, more exciting, or giggly, this Joker has every single one of those laughs. He does such a fantastic job at being this fantastic villain that wants to take over Gotham, and it feels like an actual comic book character brought to life. His character, believe it or not, makes sense despite his insanity, and you can't help but become fascinated as he spirals into becoming the main villain of Gotham that we all know and love. Ultimately, this iteration of the Joker balances staying true to form and giving us the classic Joker people would probably want or hope to see, while giving us something new and refreshing at the same time. This Joker actually gives the fans a long-term look at one of the most important villains ever created in comic books without making horrible decisions or doing things that would insult the Joker character. I'd go more into depth with this take on the Joker, but honestly, I can't without spoiling things story-wise from Gotham, and I'd rather people be able to watch it and find out what happens with that Joker storyline. As I said in my video though, I highly recommend watching this show just because of how good this Joker is. In first place, without any hesitation whatsoever, Heath Ledger's Joker from The Dark Knight is the #1 live-action theatrical Joker. There genuinely isn't much that I can say here that hasn't been said before, but Heath Ledger's Joker is iconic. No matter what, for many years to come, this take on the character will end up being the take that we use to compare future versions of the Joker to. It's never going to be fair to the many future actors that'll end up getting the role of the Joker in future DC films, but because it's so iconic and beloved, people are always going to use this take on the Joker to compare future films to. He's the vocal point of The Dark Knight. His come up to becoming a Grandmaster of a villain is a mystery, so we can't be worried or feel bad about a tragic backstory. His jokes are funny, he's menacing, and more importantly, he continuously keeps us on our toes throughout The Dark Knight. There's a level of depth to this character that we've yet to see repeated for other villains in both DC or Marvel movies. In fact, the only other villain that may have ever had this much level of depth is Thanos in Infinity War. As messed up as it is, we're supposed to be rooting for Batman to save Gotham throughout the entirety of The Dark Knight, but through the movie, you mostly find yourself cheering for the Joker because he's so fucking entertaining. It's hard to not put Heath Ledger's Joker on a pedestal because nearly everything he does in the movie is just perfect. Even in this scene, you can't help but to agree with Joker.
I think you and I are destined to do this forever. You'll be in a better jail forever. Maybe we could share one.
Also, after watching Jack Nicholson's Joker in Batman 1989, it feels like they literally took all of the good qualities or aspects from his Joker and just dialed it up to 11 with Heath Ledger, which led to an absolutely phenomenal film and iteration of the Joker. For all of these reasons combined, that is why Heath Ledger's Joker is still the greatest live-action Joker of all time. That just about does it for the video. If you want to see me do more of these types of videos where I go in depth and rank things for fun without making it too serious, feel free to let me know in the comments below. I had a lot of fun going back, rewatching all of these movies and Gotham. It kind of made me realize how far we've come movie-wise. As always, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. If you really enjoyed this video, hit that sub button. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, write a comment down below. Don't forget to keep it real with peace, love, and positivity.